Kulinjeka, Wawa, Nerenik Cassie Fisher-Patterson, Taungurung, Jarabik. Hello, welcome. My name is Cassie Leatham Fisher-Patterson, and I'm from the Taungurung and the Jara people of the Kulin Nation. I'm a multidisciplinary artist, so I do a lot of different works with different varieties of mediums, and I've had this creative journey all my life. So we're on Taungurung country, about an hour and a half from Melbourne. This is a really important place to our people because it was a gathering place where fresh water, bush tucker, natural resources for everyday living was sourced. But also too, there's still sacred trees, and the environment shows us that my people were here before colonisation. This here is an ancestor's grandmother tree, and this tree was a birthing tree. Behind here, I can't show you the other side because it's really sacred knowledge. It's sacred and cultural significance to our people. But it's where our women used to give birth to our babies, our books, and it holds so many memories and connections. And I just like to honour this beautiful tree, the grandmother tree, still strong. We're just so lucky to have her here. Being a creative person, like growing up, I couldn't sit still. I had to be out on country, facilitating, making, creating, doing whatever I could do. We'd go bushwalking, we'd build little huts, you know, I'd go and play with my cousins, we'd go bike riding. I'd come home absolutely filthy, like mud and clay and dirt. And instead of using stain remover and putting them through the wash, yeah, I used to just take my clothes off and put them in the puddle and pull them out and just wring them out. And then, you know, there was a new top that are now inspired my brand, Young Gertie. So Young Gertie means walkabout. The clothing that I make is upcycled, so I go and I find some garments that are old and I want to bring them back to life, so from old to new. So what I do is I unstitch and then I restitch with my own stitches, and then I wrap them up in the beautiful plant materials and I soak them. So when they put on that jacket, they're wearing country. So the Melbourne Fashion Festival, so this is my third time and it's one of my favourite fashion events of the year. So I was the only First Nation designer on the sustainable runway called Thread Lightly. And the reason why we call it Thread Lightly, it's like we're walking lightly, we're threading lightly, we're mindful of the sustainability and ethical practices that we want to show people that you don't have to go and have an expensive clothing brand. You can actually upcycle and recycle and support sustainable slow fashion. So bush dyeing is extracting the native plant colours into fabric. I collect all the beautiful native plants, pick the bark off like broken branches. So I do a little bit of a forage and I put it in my coolamon. I go to a place where there's soft soil or sand and I just put my pots in that sand and hopefully it will warm up. Just going to put the leaves in this terracotta pot and the wattle bark, and I'm going to put some water in over the top of the leaves. So in this jar's eucalyptus and ground up charcoal, and what I've done is I've added water, and for 2 weeks in this jar it's been in the sun, so it's actually pulled out all the dyes. It's ready to go into the terracotta pot here, into the water. So when I dip the fabrics, it's going to attach to the fabrics to make a really in-depth colour mixture. And in this jar here, I've got Delaney, which is stringy bark. So I'm actually going to pull out this bark now because I'm actually going to make some rope to tie around the fabric to bind that fabric and the leaves together when I do my bush dye. And I'm just going to put this one in the mix with the black wattle bark. So the two colours will mix, but it'll give me two different tones. So this is my piece of stringy bark that I had in one of the dye pots, and because it's nice and soft, I can actually make my own string to tie my fabrics for dyeing. So having the 2 pieces of stringy bark, I always twist out to Wurrung, out to the water, and then over the mountain, Narak, out to Wurrung, over Narak, out to Wurrung, over Narak. And then when I do it, and I get all of the stringy bark twined, then I can bind around my fabric dye on the common reed to then dip it into these beautiful dye pots. So as you can see, I've made my own string. I'm just going to do some placements. I'm just doing random placement because I'm a bush dyer that I don't like too many imprints. I really want to bring out the colour of the plant materials. And now what I've got is a piece of common reed, and I'm going to start rolling. I'm just grabbing my stringy bark, and this is where I'm going to really tightly just wrap the stringy bark around the fabric to hold it in place. So I crisscross it over, and as long as you're just tied up really tight, that's the main thing. And what I do then is I fold it in half, fold the common reed in half, get some more, and just bind the top and tie it off into a knot. And now that is binded, I can put it in one of the pots. So I'm just going to dabble it a couple of times to soak the fabric. You can see the fabric's already starting to change colour, and I'll just leave that in there to soak. So if you want to speed up the process of the bush dye and solar dye, I would suggest actually using a gas cooker and having the water and the bush dye in a saucepan and then placing. So because this bush dye here, this is going to have to be left here for about 2 weeks. But what I've actually got in this bag here is some fabric that I done about 2 weeks ago. That you can actually see how this will be like this once I unravel it. And here you can see the imprint of the stringy bark. So this was charcoal and eucalyptus, this little piece here. And then I also did the delangi, the stringy bark and ochre and charcoal. And this is what that one came out like. I also too like to work with fabrics that are made from fibres from native plants. So this is another adventure that I've been on for quite some time because I've always been an adornment maker. But I wanted to take it a little bit further, and I wanted to process the grasses and palm fibres and make it into like a pulp and paper, and then weave onto that to actually make a real outfit out of the fibres from the plant material into fabrics. So there's so many different materials, plant fibres that you can use from nature, but here there's mainly Dinella, Lamandra, kangaroo grass, and some rushes. This was a part of the runway that represented mainly about country. And woven pieces in my fashion label is really important to me because it brings through the ancestors before me. Then I carry this forward for the present, so then the future generations can actually see and feel and connect with as well. So when someone puts on, you know, a jacket or the net scarf, they're walking with the mindset of sustainability, walking with culture, connecting with country. I'm basically I'm wearing my values